This past week, President Bush's own former spokesperson, Scott McClellan, reminded us of how we got to where we are in Iraq. The president hyped the threat from Saddam Hussein before the war and made false promises about progress after it began. He accused anybody who disagreed with his position of being for, quote, surrender. And when he was presented with facts that went against his views, we all know this president refused to admit that he'd made a mistake. That's the leadership that we've had enough of over the last 8 years. That's why we need a change in Washington. Now, fast forward, John McCain, for the last few weeks, he's been attacking me saying I've got, quote, no knowledge to make decisions, even though I made the right decision based on the right knowledge about why we shouldn't go into Iraq in the first place before the war began. When John McCain was arguing for an invasion of a country that had nothing to do with 9/11, I argued that the war in Iraq would set back our ability to destroy al-Qaeda and capture bin Laden and the terrorists who were responsible for 9/11. I said it was going to be a distraction from Afghanistan. I warned that the invasion would fan Islamic extremism and lead to an occupation of undetermined length at undetermined costs with undetermined consequences. That was my judgment, and that's where we find ourselves today. Yet Senator McCain insisted again just the other day that our policy is succeeding in Iraq, and to make his case he said, quote, we have drawn down to pre-surge levels. That's what he said. This is the guy who said I had no knowledge. John McCain was wrong, and he was wrong on the most important question that any commander-in-chief faces. We've not drawn down to pre-surge levels. We have about 20,000 more troops in Iraq today than we had before the surge. Even after we finish rotating more troops out later this summer, we'll still have thousands more of Americans in Iraq than we did before the surge. Those are the facts. And we all misspeak sometimes. I've done it myself. So on this basic factual error, you'd think John McCain would just say, I misspoke, I made a mistake, and move on. But he couldn't do that. Instead, he dug in. And the disturbing thing is we've seen this movie before. A leader who pursues the wrong course, who's unwilling to change course, who ignores the evidence. Now, just like George Bush, John McCain is refusing to admit that he's made a mistake, and that's exactly the kind of leadership that has got us fighting for 5 years in a war that we shouldn't have authorized and we should not have waged. We don't need more leaders who can't admit they've made a mistake, even about something as fundamental as how many young people are serving in harm's way. We don't need more spin about the surge that was supposed to get the Iraqis to step up. We don't need any more spin about how the surge is succeeding in doing what it was supposed to do, which is get the Iraqis to stand up and take responsibility for their own future so we could start bringing our troops home. We don't need more tough talk from George Bush or John McCain because the Taliban's still fighting in Afghanistan. The terrorists who hit us on 9/11 are still at large. We don't need more leaders who just see what they want to see in Iraq. It's time to recognize where we are in Iraq. The American people will have a clear choice in November. When the new president takes office, it will be almost 6 years into the Iraq war. John McCain wants to keep that war going indefinitely. It has already cost us hundreds of billions of dollars, will soon cost us trillions of dollars. It has cost us thousands of lives. Thousands of more have been maimed and injured. I want to restore our military. I want to finish the fight in Afghanistan. I want to renew our leadership in the world. And that is why I'm going to be open and honest and straight with the American people. And I am going to end this war in Iraq.